About to fire up. Saints on tap. Week 3. We got a full pitcher. I'm drinking bourbon already. Why not? Because the Saints are rolling. Here we go.
Welcome to Saints on Tap. I'm Joe Simeone. He's John Wiener, and this is your Saints preview show where the beer drives the conversation. John, what is your first pour?
I'm already poured up. A lot of beer, a lot of conversation this week. That wasn't a very good pour. You see these shades, man?
I do.
I'm feeling cool. I'm feeling good because the Hoodats went to Aquamarine Bird Country and had a championship W, and it's Cowboys week. You know how I said I hate the Seahawks last week? I don't like the Cowboys either, man. We got back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back weeks full of hate. I love it. You're just drinking foam here.
It's okay, man. We'll get there. There's plenty of beer going.
Well, my first pour is, I just think everybody this week kind of proved it. Mm-hmm. It was a big prove-it week for everybody when you look at Sean Payton, Teddy Bridgewater, special teams, the defense. Everybody stepped up. It was a full team win, like you said. Big time.
And, when you get 2 non-offensive touchdowns, Bobby Hebert was all he wanted to say in the post-game last week in New Orleans. When you get 2 defensive or non-offensive touchdowns, it's almost impossible to lose in the NFL. And, the Saints played great on special teams. They're great on defense, like you said. But, you got to hand it to Teddy Bridgewater, too. After that first series, I see you looking at me with these shades.
I can't get over it.
Bridgewater, after that first series, was magnificent, I thought.
Yeah. I think both him and Sean Payton really shaped up after the first series. A couple of mistakes, whether it was false starts, holding penalties, and not getting the plays in on time. Sean Payton really simplified things. Said, "All right, we know what we got in Teddy right now. Let's play to his strengths." And I think Teddy did a fantastic job.
Yeah, what a cool story it was for Bridgewater too. Did you see the post-game speech afterwards?
Just so thankful.
You said something before the show when we were already starting to sort of pregame for the pregame. Start your pregame with us here on Saints on Tap. How are they 2-1?
Yeah.
How is the Saints team 2-1?
It's really confusing because when you look at the stats and all of that, the Saints are not leading in pretty much anything.
No, they're not leading. They're almost DFL and everything.
Yes, exactly. So it is surprising that they're first right now. Or not first, but winning now.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what happens when you play great team football. When you have a coach like Sean Payton and you have a defense like that that's making incredible plays, whether it's Deontay Harris, Von Bell returning a fumble. Whatever it is, that's what you need to win games in this type of situation when you lose a star like Drew Brees.
Championship effort, man.
Yeah.
Championship team. That's a real coach's win. That's a professional win in Seattle. But 2-1, okay. Texans, playoff team. Seahawks, playoff team. LA Rams, Super Bowl team. Meanwhile, Dallas, it's been Salisbury State week after week. The Cowboys been playing the freaking CUSA, man. They're 1-9, the Cowboys' opponents.
Yeah, they're pretty bad when you combine all their records and when you look at the
Dolphins are worse than the start of this show sometimes.
The Dolphins are a college team, and they're not even a good college team at that, so...
Are we ready to start the Can Bama beat the Dolphins? We do that every year. I actually think this year, the Dolphins could be prime.
I'm with you, yeah. I think Bama could absolutely beat the Dolphins this year. And you look at, how the Cowboys have played. Sure, they're, 3-0 and playing really well, but you look at the teams they faced. This is their toughest opponent so far.
Yeah. And we'll get into, on tap with the Cowboys. But, there's so much good, I think, confidence and feel good around the Saints right now because, Joe, that's not even a win you get with Breeze.
Yeah.
How many times in my Saints life when they've gone to Seattle on the road and gotten shut down, it's they talk about ahead of schedule. That win last week, doesn't it change the whole tenor of this Bridgewater stretch right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't be anything less than excited now for the rest of this because Seattle is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. And when you can go into Seattle and win convincingly, that's a whole different story when you win convincingly like they did. Oh, I'm so glad these are coming off now.
I had to take my glasses off for this. Speaking of Seattle and winning, now we ended up in a bar bet on this show last week with our guy Michael Thomas, and I must say,
I'm mad at him.
Wrong and wrong again. He made some big catches in the second half, but we had the over for 6 catches and 70 yards. You foolishly took the over on both, and now you have to finish the rest.
He was 1 catch short and 20 yards short. So, that literally could be one reception right there that would have put me over and correct. So, It stinks, but he did. He had some great plays. I think he did better than you had expected him to.
It was right around what we expected, but that was it was sort of what we both said, right? In that he would get his numbers, but at the same time he didn't really feel like he was shading coverage or made a big impact in the game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're totally right. A little bit from that chug right there.
Already here, man. That's how it's going. And we got one topic per beer, new segment coming up.
Let's do it. So let's change it up to On Tap. We obviously got the Cowboys coming up, 3-0. Saints, 2-1.
So the Cowboys, this goes way back. And the Saints-Cowboys rivalry, it's one of the more underrated rivalries, I think, in the league. The proximity with Dallas and New Orleans, but also that idea of Dallas being America's team. You know what I mean? When the Saints after Katrina in 06 to 09 and that whole run, there was this movement within the Saints, and it felt like the Saints were America's team in a little bit. There's a difference in the Saints and the Cowboys. Recently, the Cowboys hadn't won shit, and the Saints have won a bunch.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
is that fair?
When was the Cowboys' last playoff, serious win and run?
I don't know. We should have prepared that before the show instead of worrying about the drinks we were going to have in the pitcher. But, they had that game a couple years ago where, Des Bryant, had the catch that wasn't, and Dak has gotten them to the playoffs. But, I remember...
They've been on the cusp, but they really haven't taken that next step.
But this Cowboys team is good, right? Are they... sitting at 3-0, I know they hadn't played anybody, but you look at offense, you look at defense... with the quarterback, the run game, one of the best young defenses in the league. I said here at the start of Saints on Tap and said the Cowboys are the team to worry about in the whole NFC.
I'll talk a little bit about our local guy, Kellen Moore, who now is the offensive coordinator with the Cowboys and has done a fantastic job with that offense and turning them into one of the top teams in the NFL. I know Amari Cooper coming over really helped that.
Yeah.
But Kellen Moore's game planning and play calling has been absolutely amazing so far this season. They're averaging over 30 points per game. That's incredible so far for Dak and this offense. So
Moore was so sharp, at Boise State, and he had such grasp of concepts in the league. And with that offensive line, Lyle Collins, an LSU guy, and the way they run the ball, I think maybe that offensive line is a little too hype sometimes. No one ever wants to give Dak the credit for making all these other guys great, right? Why is it always the offensive line and Zeke, they make Dak great? When you saw Dak at Mississippi State, you saw Dak early in Dallas, he makes everyone else, I think, better around him.
Right. No, I totally agree, yeah. But talking about this offensive line, I know I'm kind of going off a little bit on tangent, but that offensive line is going to be the best that this Saints team has faced so far. And that is going to be an interesting battle to watch. Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Hendrickson, all of those guys battling up against this offensive line that is extremely good, probably one of the best in the NFL.
Where are the Saints right now on defense? Because I think there's some different narratives out there. The numbers aren't pretty. The win-loss column is.
Yes, and the defense has been making the plays when they need to and stopping them and coming up with the fumble return for a touchdown. They're making plays when they need to, but they're
a big
not.
Third and fourth down stop late in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're not the same defense that we saw 2 years ago, that's for sure. And something needs to change because it's not sustainable right now. The amount of yards that they're letting up per game, they're bottom 5 in the league. They're bottom 3 in passing yards per game. It's not sustainable to win games.
Sean Payton talks about situational football and complementary football, and that they always want to ask Payton is it one play, but Payton, it's 8 to 10 plays in the course of a football game. Ooh. It's a good one. That determine whether or not you win or lose. You know what I mean? And the Saints have made all those plays on special teams with Will Lutz, with the return game last year, taking the ball away. And when you look statistically, you kind of write the Rams game off.
Right.
A little bit, right? Because you lose your quarterback. It was got blown up. It's in L.A. Really good football team. The Texans hit a couple of big plays late. Seattle hit a couple of big plays late. I'm not trying to explain away this defense. I'm just saying the stats, I think, are more misleading on this group, and I think the 2-1 record. You know what I mean? I'm being a little bit of a homer here, but I think if you actually look at the tape, and you looked at last week, they didn't sack Russell Wilson at all. Yeah. Okay, they didn't get any sacks, but you look at the tape, they're getting after Wilson, and that was more who he is.
Yeah, and Russell's one of the toughest quarterbacks to take down probably in the NFL, but on top of that, when you look at this Cowboys team, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Who are your stouts?
Wow.
Who are your
You're just gonna cut me
stouts?
off and
I'm
go with the
springing it
stouts.
on you again, man. 2 in a row.
All right, so stouts. I'm going to go with, I would probably have to say Amari Cooper. You know, when you talk about this defense and how they've done, Amari Cooper is one of the best wide receivers in the game now that he's moved over to the Cowboys, and Marshawn Lattimore is going to have his hands full. He so far hasn't been the guy that he was 2 years ago. He needs to step up, and Amari Cooper is the guy that he's really going to have to stop.
I'm going to go with DeMarcus Lawrence for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's going to be a major matchup this week with, DeMarcus Lawrence, or really against that whole Saints offensive line. And then the other side a little bit with La'el Collins matching up against Cameron Jordan. But I think the Saints is more important than ever. They got to protect Teddy Bridgewater and give him some time to throw, because Breeze is, you don't have Breeze back there to kind of maneuver the pocket. I think it's a huge challenge for the Saints offensive line this week with Lawrence and that Cowboys front seven.
And I'd be remiss if I don't say they do have to stop that run game of Dallas. It's extremely potent. Probably one of the best in the game. So got to get that out there as well.
Last year was like, they 13-10 it was in Dallas, but I went back and watched the box score. They shut the Saints out in the first half, and the Saints had 7 sacks in that game. How do you lose a game when you win the turnover battle and sack the other quarterback 7 times? But the Saints didn't run the ball at all last year. They didn't run it at all last year.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's something we're struggling with.
You know what you're struggling with is that half beer right there. I'm way ahead of you. That was well done there.
It's the second week in a row, Yeah.
We catch up. I remember to eat at least before this, so I won't have the whole pitcher sitting in. But, Saints on tap, we worked through. The beer drives the conversation, new glass, new topic. So we get to move on right now. And as we move towards the game, we get to queue up a game ourselves.
What do we got?
Are we rolling with sip or chug?
We are.
So it's really simple. You believe in the statement. Knock it back, and if you're not so sure, you know what I mean, we may sip a little bit.
We might end up needing a little bit more beer here for the last call.
A bonus beer?
We're gonna need a bonus beer.
You need Hack and Hank to bring in the bonus beer.
There are bonus beers.
The bonus beer's coming in. So what's up first on Sip or Chug?
All right, first up on Sip or Chug, Alvin Kamara, the best running back in the NFL.
How much can I chug?
I'll leave this out here for now. A little Miller.
I don't know if we have to chug the whole thing.
Beautiful. No, you're good at that.
Kamara is the best running back in the league. And I know that a lot of people will say it's the other guy in Zeke Elliott in this game. But
Sure.
The fact that Kamara can catch passes is not a knock against him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
when people compare Kamara and Zeke, they're like, oh, well, Kamara's kind of a speed back. No. He does more than Zeke Elliott, and he's as good in the run game. Yards per carry, career. Kamara 5.1, Zeke 4.7. It's not Kamara's fault that they had another stud in Mark Ingram. You know
Look at what
I mean?
he's doing
Who's
this
having
year.
an all-pro year in Baltimore. And there's the idea that, Kamara's a scat back. He's a finesse guy. You watching the fucking game? You know what I mean? With Kamara, you talk about being able to bounce off tackles and his toughness. I think he's as tough as Zeke. He's as good of a runner. He doesn't get quite used as much. But yeah, I'm taking Alvin Kamara. No question. Best running back in the league. Thank you.
Our producer did not like that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Beer just ends up everywhere.
I chug as well. I'm going with Kamara as the best running back in the NFL, and all you need to do is go watch the game tape from last week. Just watch him run, just watch him break tackles, watch him drag people as he's going towards the end zone. It was unbelievable. He looked like a Marvel character out there, like a superhero, just dragging guys to the end zone.
I kept using the word magnificent.
It was.
But that's kind of what he is in this
absolutely.
weird way. He's so on a different plane, and also in terms of, you know what I mean? The combination of, it's his balance, man. It's I keep coming back to that word, magnificent. He's so incredible.
You talk about 5.1 yards per carry, and people can say, okay, Zeke maybe is the better pure rusher. We don't know that for a fact. Alvin Kamara doesn't get the amount of touches that Zeke does, and I'm convinced if you were to actually give Alvin Kamara 20, 25 touches a game. This is a guy who's going to rush for 100, 150 yards. He has the patience. He bounces off of tackles. He's got the juke moves. I'm telling you, he's the best running back in the NFL, and you just got to watch the tape and you'll know it for a fact. I'd like to see them use him more and rush more.
I love Zeke Elliott. I love Zeke Elliott. And by the way, your boy Latavius Murray, total no-show, as I told you. Oh, he replaced Mark Ingram, no problem. What? No, he's a total no-show. But just watch the tape. And watch Kamara between the tackles. I'm not talking about on toss plays. I'm not talking about on, that's what I mean. I'm telling people who think they're like, oh, Kamara, they're a different kind of running back. They're a little different, but Kamara's every bit as good between the tackles.
All right, next up. Cowboys are still America's team.
Can I just pour my beer out?
Just pour it back into the pitcher?
Like, don't even want. I couldn't be further from a chug on this. Like, I'm pouring it back in, man. I'm pouring it back in. Like, not only I'm not even coming close to it. I'm not even gonna sip on that. The Cowboys were America's team in the mid-'90s when they only showed like 2 games. The Cowboys were on TV every week, and you had Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, and guess what? They actually won some playoff games.
No shot. I'm totally with you. I would sip on that too, just a little.
I'm going to have to pour that back out now. I'm going to pour out to the Saints being America's team. I'm telling you, like after Hurricane Katrina, when they went on that whole run, and you had the reopening of the Superdome, and you had the run that the Saints went on, and that great primetime game, and Reggie Bush and how fun that they were, there was some credence to the idea that the whole country was behind the Saints. Like,
there was.
We certainly like to say that, you know what I mean, where we were. But like I do think it's the hubris of the Cowboys fan. You have the star. It's Dallas. There is something. It is a very American team. I mean, it's the Cowboys. You know what I mean? What's more American than a cowboy and a star?
Sure, but they're not America's team anymore. That was a long time ago, and it's been a long time.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think if you dragged in a bunch of like ignorant hooligan Cowboy fans in here to this elevated, sophisticated conversation, what do you think Cowboys fans would say?
They'd probably still think that they're America's team.
Of course they would.
They're just wrong, though. They're wrong.
They're just idiots. I do like my man Dak Prescott, though, man. Like, you can't go wrong with Dakota Rain. You can't go wrong with Dakota Rain. 24 for 28 last year against the Saints. Yeah. Like Zeke didn't kill them last year. Zeke had 20-plus carries, only had 75 yards. Dak was ruthlessly efficient in that game, 24 for 28.
Well, we'll see how the defense steps up this time. Let's move on and do a little last call.
Wait, do we not have that was it on our sip or chug?
We do have a last sip or chug, yes, but time constraints were going to make me move on.
Oh, okay. Well, let's move on then. I don't want to keep you at the bar with me any more than you have to be, bud. You know what I mean?
No, let's do our last one. So our last one was the secondary. So you're going to sip or chug on the Saints secondary.
I'm going to chug. I'm going to chug. And shout out Hack and Hank. I'm still going to chug on the secondary, even though they're like 30th in the league.
You're going to chug on the secondary. Did I hear that right? Mm-hmm. Is this a sip or a chug? What was that?
It's supposed to be a chug.
It's the bubbles, right?
We're deep into the game at this point, man. I've done a few chugs already. And maybe it's like a semi-chug on the Saints defense. And I just... like Lattimore, he's been in good coverage. They've caught good balls against him. Hopkins, Cooks, Lockett, great wide receivers. Sure. Certainly the first 2. Von Bell's playing pretty well. I think the stats are a little better on Marcus Williams. And they got to get some things shored up, the big plays. They've given up 19, 20-plus yard plays. It's second in the NFL.
Yep.
You take away a couple, I don't know, take away this play. Take away the 10 touchdowns they've given up there. They'd
be pretty good.
I still have belief that this Saints secondary is going to continue to get better and make plays.
They have to get better. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'll chug on it. I also think they're going to get better. Von Bell's been fantastic. Eli Apple's been really great. So has Marcus Williams, although on tape, I'm not too sold on Marcus Williams. Either way.
Our play clock is running out back there. We've already gotten flagged a couple times on the play
Either
clock.
way, I think they could step up. Marshawn Lattimore, from here he can only go up.
That's not a homer take or anything. Chugging on the Saints secondary that's ranked like 30.
I'm going to run that right into my last call and continue to drink because my last call is actually that the defense as a whole needs to get better. They're bottom in the league in yards per game, bottom in the league in points per game. They're bottom in the league in passing yards allowed, bottom in the league in rushing yards allowed. It's not good. Bottom line is it's not good. But you look at who they've played. They played three playoff teams, now 4 playoff teams, really. So they have a lot of room to improve when you look at the rest of their schedule and the teams that they have left. I think they will improve, but my last call is this is not sustainable to keep winning games. You need to get better.
I'll give you a couple stats on the corollary. It was like 6-3 at the halftime against the Rams.
Yeah.
They played pretty darn good defense until that game broke open.
Sure.
Last week, what was it, 27-7? You know what I mean? That game was sort of out of reach in Seattle. Like, they literally ran a play and scored a touchdown with 2 seconds left in the game, down 10. We were both wanting to throw shoes at the television.
End the game.
So, like, if you look at certain points, the Texans game was bad across the board, but they played really good defense for the Rams against the Rams until Drew Brees got hurt. And last week, the defense, they nearly won the game for them. Right. That's what I mean. So I'm like, I'm with you on the defense. They need to step up, but also like I almost want to cheers to the defense in a certain way.
What's your last call?
He's just like this is last call time. Look, the Saints are 11-0 in their last 11 games, prime time on Sunday night in the Superdome. There is just nothing better and nothing more exciting in the league, and certainly as a Saints fan, than the Saints in prime time. Like, we'll cheers to that. And this is what it's about, man, because like it's one thing if you got a 12 a.m. game against the Bucs, but this Sunday night in the Superdome, when you give all the Who Dat Nation the whole friggin' day in the French Quarter and Bourbon Street to pregame and do their thing and watch Saints on Tap and drink about 3 or 4 of these, the Superdome is beyond electric. It is the best atmosphere in the NFL, and it's not close in terms of where they are at night, and the record backs it up. There was a stretch like in 2009 once they got it humming with Brees, like good teams would come in at night. The Patriots came in and got blasted. They blew Tom Brady and Bill Belichick out of the friggin' Superdome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Giants came in that year and got absolutely waxed. This team takes a life of their own behind the fan base, on the turf, and with the electricity and with the offense at night that is so unique and never fails to like get you excited as a Saints fan. You know what I mean? And I expect I know Dallas is a good team, but like the Saints are awful hard to beat. So going all the way back to when they reopened the damn dome in 2006 and they had a punt block for a touchdown with Steve Gleason that's now a statue outside of the Superdome. Something special happens when the Saints play in the Superdome on Sunday night.
Hey, listen, I don't care how good your team is, how good your quarterback is, rather. It takes a team to make the playoffs. It takes a team to go to the NFC Championship game. And this Saints team is something special. So I'm right there with you. The fans step up. The team steps up in the dome against the Cowboys. Come on, I ain't even questioning.
Yeah, I mean, I've also seen Dallas just like demasculate the Saints. So we'll
takes
see.
his whole last call and
see
puts it right into the
on
picture.
that. I'm scared of the Cowboys, man. Like I like the Cowboys. That's a good football team coming in on Sunday night, but like it's a good Saints team waiting for them, and I'm excited. And a good Saints on Tap show.
Absolutely.
Let's finish up here.
Let's finish up. We'll see you guys next week on Saints on Tap.
Down with the horse riding people.